staying home with your aquarium. Things could never be better. Jeff from Vision Aquariums here, and we're going to be rescaping this 20-gallon desktop aquarium into something spectacular when we're finally finished. We're going to give this a nice cleanup. We're going to look at some options for substrate, what filter we're going to put on. I'll show you all the parts and pieces as I put it together. And today we'll have a finished product to show you. Stay tuned. Well, it's much cleaner than it was a few minutes ago, this little 20-gallon. You may be wondering why it's painted on the back end here, because it was originally designed for my son's end of his desk and his dresser. And so it fit perfectly on the end, and you could see it from three sides, and it worked out quite nicely for that. But now it's on my studio end piece here, I guess you could say, for my studio equipment, and indeed it fits nicely. And for lights, starting with that, we have a little 10-watt LED. It is I believe it's a 4500K, and we have an LED here 6500K, kind of makeshift. You can see it's on a microphone stand. Of course, it's in my studio. I'll make this look better in a little while. But I guess with 45K and 65K, you end up with 55K lighting. So the plant should do well. It's going to be nice and bright. It's going to be CO2 injected as well. For the substrate, for the very front, I'm going to use some cosmetic sand here. Just brown cosmetic sand that goes well with the brown theme and tone that we're working with. Going to be using a lot of these rocks, which I've collected and brought from Mount Royal in Montreal. These are just gorgeous. They look like a lot of the Japanese rocks that I see, and people comment on, they think they're coming from overseas when they're right in our backyard, well, in Quebec, but the French don't remember where half their stuff is. So I go and get their rocks. So that's going to be good for some land aquascaping. For driftwood, we have what I collect in the nearest forest. We've got some unique semi-bleached pieces I've already taken care of and soaked, and I guess you could say sterilized for lack of a better term, and some other branches here that you'll be seeing what I'm going to do with. I have some Amazonia soil here in the bucket that a friend from Tommy's Tanks up in Stouffville has lent me. I just love this stuff for plants. It's incredible. It lasts for a long time as well, as far as keeping the plants looking good and growing well. 125 watt Eheim filter, some glue for the anubias for the plants on the driftwood, CO2 regulator, which I'll get into in a moment. I'm not sure which diffuser I'm going to use, the smaller one or the larger one, but obviously the larger one has much more surface area. We have going on with that a used Eheim. I picked this up for like 40 bucks. This is a 2213 little Eheim canister filter with its overflow, and does a great job. This aquarium's been off and on running for the last 2 or 3 years, but now that I've settled in, I want to set it up again. So let's take a look at these parts individually, and now let's put them all together. Okay, well, our 20 little gallon tank is now scaped with hardscape. And hardscape, for those that don't know, means gravel, substrate, rocks, and driftwood are now in the aquarium. As you can see, it's scaped. I'll show you from another angle in a second. And we can get ready for the filter and get ready for the plants. Okay, so now we have some cosmetic sand on the front with some of these beautiful Mount Royal rocks that I get from Montreal that are on the bottom. I've collected some driftwood that I've treated and put in the tank, and kind of a neat little thing. I like discovering stuff you can do with your tanks that keep the mechanical to a minimum, so you're not always looking at pipes and tie downs. But this little lip right here allows this branch, when it starts to float, to stay underneath and in place. And same with the other side here. You can see that the top of this section here is going to stay under the corner of this lip, so that will keep those branches down. And they're also pressed against the front of the glass here, as you can see, so they won't come up. So I'm hoping anyways. I put a bit of fluorite because it's a very heavy gravel around this piece of driftwood here, as you can see, because I'm going to put some anubias on it. The Amazon is in the back. Try to create something where there's some depth to the tank, because it's not a big tank. It's 20 gallons, so it's only about 16, 18 wide from front to the back. So when we have the illusion of depth, it's easy to create when you have stuff close to up front, up near the front. You end up with a sight line and an image in which you want to see around it, and have a look maybe at the other side and get some depth going. So now it's time for planting, and we will take it from there. Well, we're fully planted, and we have a variety of different plants in here. We have the anubias. We attached, as you can see, to the branch that I had prepared with coral reef glue, which is a great value because you get twice as much for the same price. I have some stem plants in here, and I forget the name. I'm not good with plant names at all. The red rotella, I think that's what it is. It's going to grow huge. I also have a microsorium that is going to be planted in here, but I can't see it at this time. Well, you'll see it when I fill the tank up, which will be next. So I'll be putting that right between those rocks right there. So that'll take over the bottom. You see there's a small stem plant right there. Again, I forget the name. When they start growing, I'll do another video and I'll name the plants. But in the meantime, we have Anubias nana, which is the smallest of all of the Anubias plants, which is a great proportion to have in smaller tanks, so it doesn't get too big. This particular epiphyte plants are plants that grow on rocks or driftwood that don't need to have the rhizome or their roots submerged in substrate, so they grow well on gravel and rocks. I'm not sure what this is called, but this gets beautiful once it gets going. And yeah, and I plumbed in the filter at the top, which you won't see eventually, the heater at the back, and basically we're ready to go from three sides yonder. So let's fill it up. Well, now we have it filled. We have the microsorium planted at the bottom of the driftwood on the rocks. The red stem plant is at the back, you can see. I thought about putting moss on the driftwood coming down from the top, but it will grow so much that it will block the view. So I decided to keep the stem plants the feature when they do get growing. You can see them planted back there in the aqua soil, and the anubias are planted up the driftwood. Filter, overflow, skimmer, and one's an aquarium light, one's a makeshift light, but we're going to see how well they do together, especially with CO2. So I'll put the CO2 on this tomorrow, and I'll show you which one of the diffusers I chose. But for now, not bad for a few hours work and a lot of MacGyvering, and then result that I'm pretty happy with as far as a 20-gallon tank is concerned. So enjoy, and indeed I'll update you tomorrow on the CO2, and I will also be updating this probably bi-weekly to see what type of plant growth we get and what type of progress we make with this over time. And for fish, I have no idea. Maybe you can leave some comments as to what to do. Small tetras, maybe 20 cardinals, something small, but I'd like to think of the fish as the supporting cast, and of course the hardscape and the plants are the main attractions, so, or the starring role, I guess you could say. So anyways, enjoy. That's the 20-gallon tank, my son's 20-gallon tank actually, and there we have it as far as a half a day's work of MacGyvering things together. I look forward to giving you a progress report on this tank. Talk to you later. Well, here we go, 2 days after setup, or is it 3 days? I can't remember. We're in lockdown, so every day feels like yesterday, which is the same day tomorrow, so I don't know which day I'm talking about anymore. So nonetheless, the 20-gallon tank on the end of my little studio desk stand here gives me a lot of peace and serenity and something to do besides just music during this lockdown time. But it is set up. It's doing well. I have some dwarf rainbow fish in here. Dwarf rainbow fish tetras, I guess they're called. I've never owned them before. I never had them before. So they're quite, along with some green neon tetras or black neon tetras, but you can see the rainbow fish with their colorful red fins doing their thing. So they're a great addition to the tank. But yeah, we have the rocks separating the cosmetic sand from the Amazonia planted substrate on the back end of the aquarium. We have anubias and microsorum and some stem plants in the back that are all doing well. I'm going to be adding the CO2 today. I'll show you that in a second. But you know what? For a little project tank, I'm enjoying it. I hope you are too. The back of the tank, I like the deep blue or black. You can experiment with what you feel looks best on it. I'm not a fan of backgrounds that you stick on or tape on, but nonetheless, geez, it's every angle I take, the lava lamp, sorry, not the lava lamp, the salt lamp is in it because of the bright orange that it comes with. I won that, by the way. And finally, we have the CO2 already and all hooked up. It won't stay here permanently. The reason I have it above is for two reasons. One, I don't have a check valve for this tubing, so if it's below the water level when I turn it off, most likely the water will come back into, if there isn't enough pressure, and maybe affect the regulator. I haven't had that happen before, but just to be safe, it will be going on to the floor or underneath where the filter is eventually, and I'll cover that up. And the other reason is that I wanted to show you where I can get at it easier. So it's just running at about, I'd say 4 seconds per, 4 bubbles per second. And it's going into the larger diaphragm diffuser I picked because it was much better than the smaller one. It was having a hard time, and I don't know why. Maybe it wasn't working correctly, but nonetheless, it's sitting at the back of the filter. It'll the aquarium, and it will be hidden by those stem plants once they get going. They're not echinodoros. They're not. I forget what they're called. Somebody please help me with the names of these freaking plants. But nonetheless, it is well hidden back there, and it will be even more so when everything gets growing in. So not a bad little tally as far as its simplicity is concerned. It's just to plant a tank. I haven't really crammed the plants in. I haven't gone bananas with just stocking it top to bottom. I know a lot of guys like to do that. Sometimes I do too, but you know what? If you're on a budget or you're trying to start things off, if you've got some reasonable amount of light, the right spectrum lighting, 55, 5,000, 6,000 Kelvin K, or for lack of a better term, and if you do have CO2, even without it, and you're doing water changes and you're making it happen, plants will grow. They'll fill all this in and look spectacular. So I'll catch you up to speed once this has grown in, say in about another month's time, and I'm sure we'll still be in lockdown. And so I'll have more time to videotape it again and show you its progress. And hopefully it's looking filled in and like a small green planted stay-at-home tank should look like. Anyways, signing off, and thanks for participating in my first attempt at a YouTube video for Vision Aquariums. Signing off.